Hello, you are tuned into the Safe Hands podcast where we discuss all things goalkeeper. Nothing more, nothing less. But second episode, gonna get right into it, discussing overcoming goalkeeper hardships and why goalkeepers get better with age. So this is again a show that is dedicated entirely to the art and the science and the psychology of goalkeeping. I'm Tevin West, and diving into two big topics today: the unique hardships goalkeepers face and how to overcome them, and why, unlike outfield players, many goalkeepers actually get better with age. So let's get into it. So the first thing I want to talk about is the hardships of goalkeeper or goalkeeper. So goalkeeper isn't just a position; it is a mentality, and what comes with that is a unique challenge, to say the least, and that outfield players rarely experience. And I want to break that down. The first thing is the isolation factor. So unlike goalkeepers, outfield players, goalkeepers are often maligned, often alone in their struggles. A striker, if they miss an open shot, they miss a sitter, the teammates will console them. If a keeper makes a mistake, it's a goal conceded, and the blame falls squarely on you. And that mental burden is immense, and some people do not bounce back from it. The second thing is the scrutiny of mistakes. A midfielder can misplace 10 passes, but if a soft goal is scored on him, he let that goal in. The verbiage is all off. He let it in. He conceded. If it's all anyone ever remembers, the margin for error is razor thin when it comes to being a goalkeeper. The third thing is the physical toll. Diving at full stretch, absorbing collisions, and constantly exploding into reactions, your body does, take a beating. And unlike outfield players, you can't really hide when you're sore, when you're injured. If you have a issue anywhere in your body, it's going to affect the way that you play goalkeeping. And then you have to manage it accordingly. For anywhere from your ankle, because you have to sit in a set position, to extend, or your hips. I mean, that's self-explanatory. Your neck. So the physical toll is there, and you cannot hide it. The pressure of being the last line. So, we're one moment of hesitation, one misread ball, and, one misread situation, and the game is lost. The psychological weight of that responsibility can crush some keepers. Like I said, some people never come back. Not to mention that, before I continue, there are many goalkeepers who, I forgot the percentages, but there's a large percentage of coaches that coach from grassroots all the way to professional soccer. A large percent of them are not goalkeepers. A large percent of them didn't play goalkeeping. If you are a coach as a goalkeeper, you're specifically probably a goalkeeper. So not many that are like head coaches and like assistant coaches dealing with the outfield players. It's just not something that a lot of goalkeepers want to do after the fact of playing, because usually when we are goalkeeping in game, we're the on-field coach. We are an extension of the coach. We are the de facto captain. We are the sheriff. We run the town. We write the reports after, we see the crime scene and everything. So we don't really care for coaching a team fully most of the time. It's not for everybody, right? I'm generalizing, but what I'm saying is, when you as a goalkeeper are going through struggles and things of that nature, you are alone, because you're not going to have anybody that can relate to you on the field besides the goalkeeper that you're training with, and besides your goalkeeper coach, because the head coach is not going to understand you because they don't play goalkeeper mostly, more than likely. And the field players, forget about it. So it can be it can be very, it can struggle. You can struggle as a goalkeeper mentally if you don't wrap your head around the fact that you're going to have to deal with a lot of scrutiny. You're going to be a scapegoat for a lot of things. Second thing, the second big overarching thing is how to overcome goalkeeping hardships. So the greats don't just survive these challenges, they thrive under them. And here's how. So you got your mental resilience training. Top keepers work with sports psychologists to build short memories. Buffon, Gianluigi Buffon, who was a great goalkeeper uh, for the Italian national team and also played at Juventus, Paris Saint-Germain, or PSG, in Parma. And he played for the Italian national team for decades. I think he played from like 1998 to 2018. He said that a goalkeeper must have a short memory and a lion's heart. And I can't agree anymore. Techniques like visualization, breathing exercises, and post mistake routines kind of help reset the mind. What I mean by that is visualization is you need to visualize yourself making certain saves before the game, whether it be not just the great save, the grandiose save, the simple save. You need to visualize yourself going up for that cross and making it, or taking care of that ball that kind of scoots into the ground and bounces. You need to visualize coming out on that 1v1 and just sitting that striker down and closing him down and making yourself as big as possible. That is very important. You need to visualize that, and you need to visualize nothing but success, because it's going to be a hard road through that game period. And so you need to put positive things in your mind, because there's an onslaught of opposition coming at your door for 80 to 90 minutes. And breathing exercises, it's very important that you do take deep breaths. I am a person that very much believes in taking deep breaths constantly. If not, every 5 minutes, take that deep breath. Allowing oxygen into your body and then getting to your brain is very important. And that type of stuff, those little things can help reset the mind, as opposed to just kind of going into the game psychologically naive and unaware that you are in for a battle and just saying, "Oh, I'm going to go out there and it's going to be fun." No, you need to start to build like a mental callus around your mind, understand and say to yourself, it is going to be hard, but I've thought about the things that I've done. I prepared for these things mentally. Obviously, physically, you have with the training you should have, and you can. That's how you can carry over. Whenever I would be scored on, I would take my wrist strap, pull it off, and put it back on. It's kind of like a mental reset. So that's very big. I mean, I didn't mean to stay on that for too long, but the mental resilience training is very important. Embracing the uniqueness of the role. The best keepers don't see themselves as victims of pressure. They own it. They know their role is different, and that's their superpower. As a goalkeeper, you have to be the one that is ready to take all the pressure off of your team. And one of the best ways to do this is making sure you're always ready for the ball that comes back to your feet, the drop ball. Always be available within reason, even sometimes like unnecessarily. Be always available as an open valve for your midfielders and your defenders to bring the ball back to you, so they don't have to play the ball out of bounds or play it up and lose possession, so they can recycle possession through you, and you can go from the bottom to the top, because that ball that you receive and that you play back out into the field, that's like, that ball has information on it. And if you get that ball and you can put information on that ball, that's good. Information meaning, if I can get this ball, take a good touch, put it out in front of me, play it across, on the ground to on the other side of the field to relieve pressure, then maybe that information could carry up to the field, and then be perpetual confidence associated with the ball that I just played, as opposed to, and sometimes you're going to have to clear it all the way out. It's okay. But that's just one example of just taking when the ball's in the air and it's hanging in the air and it's in your area, analyze the ball first, where it is in the area, and then go get it. and then clear everybody out. Keeper, keeper. Let everybody know that you got it under control. It's very difficult to claim crosses or traffic full of people, but just understanding like this is a position that is full of pressure, and you have to be comfortable with that. I'm talking what I know. I'm not talking what I think. I'm talking what I know. You have to be willing to say, all right, these nerves and these things that I have that are on me that feel like the world's gonna come crashing down. I have to embrace this because it's really just excitement. Your nervousness in games and stuff, and when you're in goal, especially in the early part of a goalkeeper's career, it's excitement. It's excitement, and you're gonna want to embrace that. The third one, excuse me, is the physical longevity. So the physical longevity is modern keepers now prioritize mobility, flexibility, and recovery just as much as playing the goalkeeper position, just as much as shot stopping. So yoga, Pilates, cryotherapy, you can replace as a person. I know everybody's not doesn't have the money to do cryotherapy. You can replace cryotherapy with soaking in a hot tub. Um, for my bones, when I was playing college soccer and professional indoor soccer, after games and practices, I would sit in a hot tub of water that I would say 75, 80% hot, whatever you can take, and then put some Epsom salt in there and just sit in there for 15 to 30 minutes. And it keeps your bones elastic. It keeps your bones malleable. It keeps them like this. The last thing you want is a stiff body, and your bones as you get older is going to be stiffer. And you got to do everything you can to keep them loose. Your body wants to do this as much as possible. Just kind of creep up and fold up like a lawn chair, but you got to do a lot of things to keep yourself open. That's why yoga, freeform stretching is very important. The warm up is important as well too. You want to take 15 to 30 minutes to warm up as a goalkeeper, maybe even 40 minutes. A lot of people are going to miss that information, but you need to warm up properly and you need to cool down properly because it's going to mentally take the pressure off of you and kind of put it more on. You're going to dig more into your God-given abilities and your body's ability to recover and grow and stretch and reaffirm your tendons and stuff like that. But if you're not doing the things that you need to do to recover and to warm up properly before game, your body's not going to be fit for the occasion. So that's how you keep your physical longevity, is your mobility and flexibility and your recovery. It's very important. But a lot of people will miss that because they don't want to do it. They're tired after a game or after practice. They just want to go home. They want to eat. They want to, do their homework, or they want to, surf the web or whatever. But it's important. So take those 15, 20 minutes to stretch at the end, and then take those 15 to 30 minutes to warm up. Now, the last one here before we go on to our next segment is learning from mistakes. So not dwelling on the mistakes. The best keepers analyze errors without emotion and they move on. Iker Casillas, who was a legendary goalkeeper for Real Madrid, and also he had a great second career in Portugal. And he had a illustrious career, pretty much like Buffon. They both won World Cups. He played for the Spanish national team from like 2002 to 2016. 16, yeah. I would say 14. But he said a bad goalkeeper lets one goal become two. So, and you can see us was not the tallest person. Him or Buffon were not the tallest people. I know people that are watching this in the goalkeeper community. There's a lot of emphasis that is put on height, how tall you are, how big you are, and things of that nature. But truth be told, you can see us was somewhere between 5'11" and 6 foot, and Buffon was somewhere between 6'1" and 6'2". But the way that they carried themselves, they played like they were 6'4", 6'5". And that's the mentality you have to have. It's like whenever something bad is going on, you can't let that one thing become two things. And I know that there are outside forces that are keeping you sometimes from playing the best of your ability, but you can't let that be. And so even if you're playing in a game where you're getting mollywopped and it's like 5-0 and you're losing 5-0, even those games, people can tell, and you can tell whether you were still doing your best. And it's a mentality. It's a mentality. I'm telling you, it's not It's almost like you got to do this rigmarole thing to, you have to almost delusionally reaffirm yourself that things are going to be okay. Because if you don't, you're going to allow doubt to creep into your mind. And doubt is not something you need when you're playing the position of goalkeeper. I mean, absolute confidence, absolute assurance, absolute understanding that what you do is unique and it is a superpower. And you have to have the emotional intelligence to close off a lot of the distractions so that you can lead your team within the confines of the game. So the next segment where I go to is why goalkeepers get better with age. Now, here's something fascinating. While outfield players often decline after 30, goalkeepers, many goalkeepers, peak in their 30s and even their 40s. I would say this, and a lot of people, this is probably going to be something that people don't want to hear, but most goalkeepers never see their prime because they never play long enough to experience it. And I mean in anything, whether they're going trying to go professional, or they're just playing amateur. Most people get so upset with the position and how they're treated during the position because most goalkeepers struggle, if not all goalkeepers struggle, and they let it go and they stop. And the ones that keep playing are the ones that, as they get older, they're just full of confidence. And so, yeah, many goalkeepers, they peak in their 30s and their 40s. Why? Why is this? Well, there's about three things I can tell you why. The first one is experience triumphs over athleticism. So your positioning, that's the number one thing in goalkeeping. I don't care what anybody says. That's the number one thing that you have to worry about in goalkeeping. Where you standing? Where are you standing while you're in goal when a shot is happening? Even before a shot is happening, how you moving off the ball, reading the game, decision making. That matters. Like those things, the positioning, reading the game, and the decision making they matter more than your raw reflexes. Older goalkeepers, they anticipate and they read the game rather than reacting. And obviously, there are appropriate times for you to react and let those skills work it out. But the older you get, the more that you've seen or supposed to see scenarios that look similar all the way around. Whether it's a 1v1 coming, whether it's a ball in the air coming, whether it's a striker getting an intelligent attacking position and opening up their hips. They're coming on the left side of the goal and they're opening up their hips to the right. You already know that they're going to try to finesse the ball into the right corner. So you can go ahead and kind of cue your body up. Don't cheat, right? Respect the position, but you already seen these scenarios. Ball's coming over the top and it's high and hanging and it's got speed. You can kind of see it and kind of come off early. The older you get, if you stay in the game, the more that you see situations and the more you get more comfortable in these high stake situations. Risk it to get the biscuit. And the older you get, the more it becomes it's not a risk. It's okay, this is what's going on. And even if you do get scored on in that situation, like, this is what I could have done. And it becomes like, as you get older as a goalkeeper, you start to realize as a goalkeeper, I still play. You start to realize that I control the outcome of games for real. If I can come off this line early and get this ball, if I can distribute this ball properly anytime it's coming back to me and get information on the ball like I was talking about earlier and give it to my teammates, I inspire my teammates to go forward, So even if you not necessarily better than the other team, you're leading them from the back. You're like the quarterback. The football team's got a good quarterback, they got a shot. Team's got a good goalkeeper, they got a shot. They got a shot to at least draw. And that draw is gonna feel like a win as opposed to a draw that's gonna feel like a loss. But it starts with you. So the other thing is mental maturity. With age, calmness under pressure. That's what comes. Younger goalkeepers might panic in big situations, big moments. Veterans like Keylor Navas, who played for years for the Costa Rican national team and all across Europe and Spain and in France. He's probably the best goalkeeper to ever come out of North America, besides Guillermo Ochoa and Tim Howard. I mean, there's many others that I could say. It's like Keylor Navas. It's like Jorge Campos, who was really on it first. Jorge Campos, Keylor Navas, Guillermo Ochoa, and Tim Howard. That's how it is. And really, Jorge Campos and Keylor Navas are fighting for that top spot. But guys like him and Hugo Lloris, who was Tottenham faithful, recently was in the World Cup final, lost to Argentina. Guys like those, they thrive in those situations under pressure. If you've ever seen World Cup, just if you've seen recent World Cups, those two players, like they carried their team. Keylor Navas carried Costa Rica to the quarterfinals in the 2014 World Cup by just basically what a goalkeeper would call standing on his head, making saves, leading his team from the back. Hugo Lloris, even though France had a great, midfield defense and attacking front, he was the one that was able to make the saves to keep them, keep other teams at bay when it got hard, because you're playing teams like Argentina, playing teams like Belgium, you playing teams like England, you you playing teams um that are really going to get after you. It doesn't matter how good your defense is. You need a strong goalkeeper that can hold it down. And so those guys have mental maturity, and they're not the biggest people either. I will keep hitting that home because you don't have to be like tall. I know that the game is kind of reverting back to throwing tall goalkeepers in there in goal because they're taller, and that's kind of been the thing. But it's more, seeing goalkeepers like Emi Martinez and keep Thibaut Courtois have successes reverted people back. But there are goalkeepers out there like David Raya and Andre Onana and Jan Sommer, Casper Schmeichel, who lead from the back with a presence, and they're not that tall. And that's a big thing in the goalkeeper community because they'll tell you on your way to whatever level you're not tall enough, you're not big enough, you're getting shit, whatever. That stuff don't matter. It don't matter. You could be 5'7" and go. If you have the mental maturity, if you're willing to learn how to get the mental maturity, get the experience, if you're learning to, not dwell on your mistakes, you could do it. Your mentality. So the other thing is late bloomer phenomenon. Many elite keepers, um, Edwin van der Sar, Casper Schmeichel. We could talk about him. Casper Schmeichel, uh, Steve Mandanda, Ricardo Yao. You guys got to look some of these guys up. Is what I'm telling you. Guys like that, they didn't hit their best form until their late 20s and 30s. You know what I mean? They were good, but they didn't hit their best form. Even like Iker Casillas has always been good, but like he really hit his prime. Like he hit like a second prime in his 40s, in his late 30s. You know what I mean? Keylor Navas, he didn't really reach his prime until he was like 31, 32. Goalkeepers age like one. Brad Friedel. Brad Friedel had a renaissance of a career, and when he almost, he was 36 years old. Hugo Lloris is a goalkeeper for Tottenham, and Brad Friedel was there. And Brad Friedel, he was training Hugo Lloris, who was a World Cup winning goalkeeper. He was training him. Brad Friedel was American. Brad Friedel was in the sticks until Hugo Lloris could come into his own, but he was training Hugo Lloris as well on how to have mental maturity. And he was older, late bloomer stuff. But we live in a society where they tell you if you're not good at 15 years old, you're never going to be good. And I'm going to tell you right now, young goalkeepers, that is a lie. That's a lie. It takes time, it takes effort, it takes the willingness to go through pain and suffering and mistakes after mistake after mistake to learn. We just live in a society where it's instant gratification, and you see these social media guys, and you hear about these players who sign these contracts and they're 16 years old for these academies and stuff like that at first team appearances. That's few and far between. You know, Gianluigi Donnarummas are few and far between. Most people are like Keylor Navas. Most people are like that. It takes time. You know, even even guys like Kepa Arrizabalaga, like he's a really good goalkeeper now, but at first he struggled. He struggled hard. So now I'm throwing these names out here because I know the game. Like I'm telling you about these players who are professionals who had these hills and mountains and valleys to climb, even though the whole time they're still being professional. But just because you're professional doesn't mean that you're having the greatest time at professionals. Okay. Number 4 is less wear and tear than outfield players. This is something that's big. This is something that people aren't gonna really. While strikers and midfielders, they rack up like miles on their body because they're beating themselves into the ground, like running and stuff. Keepers, I don't know, something about the position. We preserve our bodies, even though we're the ones diving all over the place. We preserve our bodies longer. It allows us to play at a high level into deeper careers, a higher level deeper into our careers. It's just this weird thing, I guess because we don't have to go but left, right, up, and down. We still got to be in shape, though. I think goalkeepers should be some of the most, at least aspiring to be some of the most in shape people on the field, because you got to be mentally prepared for the last 10 minutes of the game. And for you to be mentally prepared for the last 10 minutes of the game, you have to be in shape because you've been moving around and communicating and called upon action when you need to, because sometimes you could do nothing for 60 minutes and then all of a sudden, bam, you called upon to make a save. You gotta be fit, form, and function to do that. So if you're a young keeper feeling impatient, I want you to remember your best years may be still ahead of you. In closing thoughts, as time goes on, this podcast grows, I would love to hear from you. Biggest hardship you face as a keeper, let me know in the comments. How do you bounce back from mistakes? Do you think the keepers age like fine wine? So you could just comment in after the video, and like and subscribe. If you enjoyed this episode, share it with a fellow keeper. And remember, great keepers aren't born, they're built, one save and one lesson at a time. Have a good day.